Hey everyone, Robert here, author of Expansion Mastery, the practical guide to living a fully engaged life. Are you ready to start embracing life? Are you ready and willing to transform yourself and your life from ordinary to extraordinary? Are you prepared to participate in this year of unity and human harmony? Then let's do this. Welcome, my friends, to the Fully Engaged Life. Welcome back to the show, everyone. So, as we know by now, we have to undergo certain forms of transformation in order to live a fully engaged life. I hope you can see that these 4 skillful efforts are one of the things we need to do in a transformation of sorts that we need to experience in order to step into the ability of living a fully engaged life. Yes, living a fully engaged life requires effort. This is a type of effort it requires. Then, once this is mastered, it becomes quite effortless. So, this is the 4th installment in addressing the 4 skillful efforts, which are authentic, powerful practices. So, if you haven't participated and succeeded in the first 3, I highly recommend going back and going through episode 175, 176, and 177 and engaging in those practices first. The sequential order of these practices is extremely important if you hope to attain the success. Okay, so let's get right into it. Number 4 is making the effort to generate positivity. So we have 4 of these skillful efforts. The first 2 dealing with an awareness for and the ability to limit the amount of negativity we are producing. And the second 2 are all about promoting and generating positivity. So once you've been working with these practices and you attain a more stable sense of positive energy in your life, in the present moment of your daily life, then we begin to seek more ways to increase all of the good that already exists in our life. So with exercise number 3, we were examining all of the things that we could do to bring about more positive energy into our life in the future. We were taking a look at what it would take to be more positive in the future, to attract more future happiness, more future benefit, more future enjoyment. And through that, we realize that we have to be more positive in the present moment, because that is what's sending out the vibration into the universe and attracting all the situations that are going to happen in the future. So what we want to do now is to realize, take a moment and appreciate and enjoy and truly realize all of the positive things we have in our life, how much positive energy is in your life right now, today, as you're listening to this. Think about all of the incredible positive things, positive relationships, positive experiences, everything that you have going on in your life. I highly recommend pulling out that spiritual journal and writing down as many of these as you possibly can. Because by now, if you've gone through the first 3 and you're here at number 4, your life should be far more positive as you begin to consciously create positive and enjoyable life experience. And we have to understand that it's very easy for us to be distracted by daily life and forget the powers that are here at our fingertips just awaiting our command. As we learn to harness these powers that every human being is blessed with, yet often go unused because of the inability to recognize and admit our incredible strength as human beings. Most choose to remain ignorant of these powers because they demand a very high degree of personal responsibility. You should be noticing that by now. You're having to take a lot of responsibility for all of your thoughts, all of your emotions, all of your words, all of your actions. This is what most people run and hide from, especially today in this age of entitlement. Everyone wants to blame the things they say, the things they do, and the way they feel on somebody else. But the truth of the matter is, it all goes back to what they are thinking. It goes back to where their vibrational frequency is held. All too often, when someone gets a glimpse of the reality that they are capable of creating their own reality, and indeed they are, either unconsciously or consciously, they freak out. They freak out in sheer terror as fear from this realization paralyzes them and either causes them to freeze or to flight. And they're unwilling to step up and accept the level of personal responsibility that allows them to effectively wield these powers. We need to consciously recognize the potential for positive achievement in every event of our own grand adventure. The grand adventure that we typically simply call life. So for the fourth one, simply sit back for a moment and reflect upon the ways you could think, feel, speak, and act with the sincere desire of expanding upon the positive achievements and enjoyable life situations you're already currently experiencing. In what ways can you possibly expand upon the wave of positive energy and high vibration you're already experiencing every day? Because if you remember from one of the previous episodes, I made the statement that even if your life is pretty good already, it can get much better. You can have an extraordinary life. And that's what this is about. So take a moment to reflect upon all of those things that you have going on that are so awesome in your life right now. All of your achievements, all of your experiences. And think about what you could possibly do to make them even better. I'm pretty certain if you start to look, there's still moments where you slip and you engage in the entertainment of some negative thoughts or allow yourself to experience a negative emotion or something like that. So in these ways, we can find those little aspects, those little gaps in our positivity, and we can work on those. Likewise, we're still living in the physical realm. We're still having this physical experience. And because we are having this physical experience, we are bound to have adverse situations, right? Some of these situations that are less than favorable, we're going to run into these things. And some of them are seemingly not of our vibration. In other words, we didn't really attract them. Now, most of the time we are attracting these things, whether we're aware of it or not, but sometimes it is something someone else attracts and we just happen to get caught up in. Sometimes this happens. So again, we can take a look at those. Now, if it's the same thing over and over, if it's a repeating pattern, then that lets you know that you are indeed the one who is attracting it, not someone else. And then we have to take ownership of it. So we want to take a look at things. So I'll give you an example of our personal experience. My wife and I sleep on a Japanese futon. Right? We really like the futon. It's nice on our backs. It's comfortable. I love sleeping on the ground. I think it's a fantastic way to go. My opinion, my preference, and hers. So we enjoy that sort of thing. And we had a nice one, but it was kind of thin. And we had an opportunity to get one that was about 3 times as thick. much nicer material. So we upgraded and we got it. And let me tell you, that thing is so amazingly comfortable. You get in that bed at night, oh my goodness, forget about it. You talk about a good night's rest. So in this way, we made a good situation, something we already enjoyed, but we found a way to make it even better. And it doesn't have to be a material thing. We just upgrade things when we can, whether it's a kitchen appliance. We had a little blender that did okay for a while, and then when some new technology came out and you had these new Ninja blenders that came out, right? Awesome product. I love those things. So we got one of those, and we got one that facilitates all the type of things that we make. Everything from protein shakes to margaritas. We had to have something that could work with all of that. So this particular item is also easier to clean. It's easier to maintain. See, so in all these ways, we can just eliminate little stresses out of our life. We can change things to make something better. We can find anything that causes a minor annoyance in life, and we can change it. We can just replace it with something better. So if we pay attention, if something causes even a minor annoyance, what does that do? Well, it lowers our vibration a little bit. It starts to promote some less than highly positive thoughts, and obviously irritation is not a very high emotion, right? So that's not so good, and it may cause us to utter something, some swear words or something every now and then that, again, less than positive, right? So if we replace these things, we just have to, again, apply the effort to stay mindful, to stay ever vigilant in our awareness of these things. And when we notice something is repetitively causing that irritation, then replace it. If you possibly can, just replace it. And with something better that you can appreciate, that does work good, and it takes that little minor irritation out of your life. It's just a very simple, practical approach to dealing with this type of practice. Now, like I said, it doesn't have to be some physical material item. It can be anything else. A large one here is a relationship. If you are involved in a relationship that is unhealthy or even unfortunately toxic in some way, then get out of it. And I know a lot of you, I wish it was that easy. I've invested these many years, that many years. I don't even care. It means nothing. This is your life. And each moment that you can spend with a high vibration is worth giving up years that you've invested in something unhealthy and negative. All of that's really just an excuse because you're still addicted to the drama, which lets you know your ego is still dominating the mind. So, I know more than anyone. I walked away from a relationship of 25 years because it was negative, because it was toxic, because it was unhealthy. And I walked away from it. I walked away from a lot of the things that I had. I just walked away, and I rebuilt my life in a way that was far more positive. So you can do this, whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a sibling relationship, a parental relationship, if it doesn't matter. If it's toxic, it's no good. It's preventing you from being positive and attracting more positive things into your life. Those people have a tendency to hold you down, and it can be really trying. And we can do everything in our power to remain positive and to rise above that. But when you have that negative influence constantly clawing at you, dragging you down with every opportunity, the struggle gets to be a bit much, I'm going to tell you. And it's not worth it. It's so much easier to just separate yourself from the situation. Not to harbor any hard feelings, but to forgive, but not to forget. Just walk away. Create the separation and let them go. If I encounter a toxic type of relationship with anybody in any manner, I just cut the tie. Okay? And I don't take that lightly. I don't want to do that. I don't like to do that. And some people may think, oh, well, that's not very compassionate. Yes, it is compassionate, because guess what? I have to be compassionate with myself before I can ever possibly be truly compassionate with someone else. And a compassionate act for ourselves means that we no longer tolerate the toxicity of some negative people and the negativity that they bring into our life. I find that most of the people that accuse you of not being compassionate because you won't tolerate their negativity anymore, that's just because they're consumed with the ego, and they're pissed off that you won't tolerate their bullshit anymore. That's basically what it comes down to. But you have to understand, you don't have to. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter what your relationship. You don't have to. And when you release those toxic, negative people from your life, you tend to feel a sense of freedom, of lightness that you haven't experienced in a very, very long time. And after a while, you can try and confront them all the time and, let them know you're not going to put up with their crap and all of this and that. But see, that's resistance. And it doesn't work, does it? Some of you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't work. It may work for a little while, but they'll go back to their own patterns, and then you're stuck in the same situation, the same cycle all over again. The only way to break it is to break it and allow a sense of separation. Now, when you're living in a higher vibrational frequency, you'll have a tendency to move away from people who are living in a low vibrational frequency anyway. And a lot of times this is going to happen unconsciously. This is not a conscious act, but you're living in two different worlds, because they're in a low frequency, you're in a high frequency, and you can't mesh anymore. So you'll go your separate ways. It doesn't mean that you have to be angry, or they have to be angry or spiteful or anything like that. No, that's not it at all. See, it's not about being selfish either. It's about understanding what we need. Selfish is usually someone else's way of being upset because you won't let them have their way. So they consider you to be selfish. Anything you do to protect your vibration, to protect your sense of positive thoughts, positive emotions, positive words, positive actions, is an act of self-protection. That is an act of self-fullness. Okay? That's when we are engaging in the things we need to do right for ourselves. We need that. There's nothing selfish about that. In that way, we have to put ourselves first. Why? Because we can't ever help others until we're in that position ourselves, right? It's just like I've told you before with the airplane oxygen masks. Okay, that's why they tell you put yours on before trying to help someone else. Why? Because if you pass out, you can't help somebody else. See, this is how it works. We have to understand this and realize what it is, and not allow other people to make you feel ashamed or guilty because they call you selfish. You have to know what's right for you. You have to know what you need. And living as a positive being, living a positive life, living with a high vibration, those are your birthrights. There's nothing selfish or wrong about that. Okay? That's what can bring about change. Imagine if each one of us would embrace that and actually work on that and become that, just how enjoyable this planet would be. So take a moment and contemplate all the different things that you have going on in your life right now, all the great things. And think about how could you possibly make them better. I've done this with relationships. I've done it with my job. I've done it with my martial arts training. I've done this with where I live, right? Another situation, a lot of people live in a place they don't really care for. They may like aspects about it, and this is good. For instance, if I have a nice home, but I'm living in a state with weather that I don't agree with, I'm always sick. It doesn't agree with me, right? And I don't enjoy it. I don't appreciate it. But I like where I live. Well, great. So you zero in on the fact that, well, I have this beautiful house. I love my house. This is a great home. Okay? And you enjoy that. You focus on the positive nature of what it is you do have right now. But think about also, how could I increase this? Well, could I make this situation, my living situation, even more positive? Yes. What if I got a different home, maybe even a better home, in a different location, a different state, where the weather does agree with me and I do enjoy it and I can appreciate it and the lifestyle is more suited to me? See, again, these are all changes I've made, people. And if I can do it, you can do it. We just have to be aware of it. And then we just have to make the effort. Some of these things will require some effort to change. Okay? In the case of something simple like a kitchen appliance, a blender, okay? Well, what does it take? Well, it takes the effort to make a little bit of money and then drive to the store and actually get it, right? Very minimal effort. Come on, and it's the same. A relationship might be a little more difficult. It might require a little more effort on your part, especially in staying strong. That's why I say being a spiritual warrior is so important. We've seen it with the other practices in this set, haven't we? And we can do this. It requires a lot of effort to move somewhere else. But is it worth it? Will it be worth it to live the life you would love? I can tell you it's 100% worth it, and I'd make every bit of effort that I had to make to do this. I would make it again and again and again. I would make 100 times more effort if necessary in order to do what I've done and live where I live and to live how I live. So as usual, you can start to see how these practices start as a simple act of mental concentration and consciousness observation, right? And then they start to manifest more and more into the physical nature of our life and our daily life experiences. That's when we've brought the ox to market. That's when we're living what we practice. This is when it's being integrated into ourselves and into our lives. So this is the idea. Look at all the positive things going on, all the progress you've made in your life, all the great things. How can it be better? How can it be better? There's nothing wrong with desiring it to be a little bit better. Root out any positive negativity and increase anything that would be positive. The more positive you are, the higher your vibration. The more positive you are, the more positive life situations you're attracting into your life adventure. I hope by this time, at the end of the fourth practice, you see how vital these 4 efforts are to living a fully engaged life. And I sincerely trust that you're able to see that the effort that you are making is fairly minimal and that these practices are not difficult. They're rather simplistic in nature. They're not meant to be complex. The dogma makes them appear complex, to appear hazy, so you can't quite get a bead on what they actually are. But the way they're being presented here in such a practical manner, you can see very easily the exact amount of effort that is necessary. You can see exactly what you have to do and see exactly how it works for you. And pretty soon you're able to be living these practices as part of who you are, as part of your daily life situation. And that is their function. That's what they were developed to do. And for every one of us that succeeds in accomplishing a degree of success with these practices, we are honoring the authentic tradition from which they came. And then we see that any dogma was really unnecessary all along. So these, my friends, are the 4 skillful efforts. We broke down each one. Very simple, a little contemplation, a little observation, and then taking some action. That's the effort that's necessary for these. And there is no reason why you should not be seeing positive results from the very first day you begin these. And every single day that you practice them will bring more success, more positive accomplishment. And that is helping you to set up for more positive accomplishment, more positive life situations in the future, isn't it? Make sure to visit me at www.expansionmastery.com. Grab your Appreciation Mastery program there. I'll have the Breath Bridge up shortly, if it's not already up by the time this podcast airs. And make sure that you are engaging these practices. If you get the Appreciation Mastery program, which I cannot recommend strongly enough, it doesn't do you any good sitting on the shelf. Put it in. Work with it. It's simple, it's powerful, you will get the results, and they will help you with these 4 efforts. So until next time, my friends, I wish you the very best in your practices and in your life. Take care.